So some days start off strong and just can't get any better, no matter what. You ever have one of those days where one of the first things that happens to you is just about the best thing that can happen all day long, in that relative kind of way? It's Friday. I'm not even supposed to be in the office, but here I am. And I decided it was time to make this little video devotional. And I had no idea what to talk about. And so I sat down at my desk and checked email and did all of those things. And I said, God, what do you want to talk about today? What do you want to do? This is number 92. And I was telling my doctor when I was in earlier this week that I'm doing these. And she said, how can you find 92 things to talk about? Seriously? Seriously? Have you read the Bible? 92 is, we haven't even nicked the cover of it yet. But I didn't know specifically what to talk about today. And then the phone rang. Well, there's not a lot of people here around the tower these days. I'm usually here at least through early afternoon, and our maintenance director, Carolyn, is here, and she's keeping the building in shape and doing some painting now. So it's pretty quiet around here. The phone rang, and so I answered it. Towerview Baptist Church, may I help you? It's silent. And that's usually a sign that it's a robocall. So I almost hung up, and I thought, nah, I'll give it one more shot. Good morning, can I help you? And there was a click on the line, and a voice came on. And was a voice in a very foreign accent. Not that that matters, but oftentimes you know what's coming. And sure enough, that voice began to identify itself as the man who called and I worked with a couple of weeks ago, a computer technician who had helped me through fixing our computers. And he said, so I'm calling back because there's some more things we need to do. I said, I'm sorry, I really don't remember that. And he said, oh, sure you do. I called and you helped me get beyond your security software so that we could fix some things in your computer. And I said, well, that's really interesting because our offices have been closed down for 4 months and the computers aren't on. And he quickly uttered a word that is not appropriate for this video. He said, oh, and then a word that begins with an S, and hung up rapidly. He was gone. And I just busted out laughing. Busted. Yeah. That was funny. That was the best thing that can possibly happen today. He wanted access to our computers here, and he wanted to trick whoever answered the phone to get into our system, but the computers haven't been on. So not that I would have given him permission to do that anyway. I just love that. Until I started thinking about it. Until I started thinking about how I'd been asking God what I was supposed to talk about this morning, and begin to get that familiar nudge and realize that phone call, the timing of it was not coincidental, not accidental at all. It was just a God thing. You ever get so caught up in life and in the different roles of your life that you almost lose track of who you are? There's a large segment of the people that I know and love that call me Pastor Ron, which is absolutely fine. You can call me Pastor Ron because that's who I am. I'm a pastor and I'm Ron. So that's completely legitimate. But I can't run around thinking of myself as Pastor Ron because that's not healthy and that's not good for me. I have to remember who I am. And there's one lady who calls me husband. And she doesn't walk up to me and say, husband Ron, but to her, she relates to me as her husband. And again, completely legitimate. She should, and I love it that she does. I want to be the very best husband that I can possibly be to that precious Debbie of mine. Another guy calls me brother because I'm his only brother. I have kids that call me dad. I have grandkids that call me grandpa. And some people just call me friend. But it's really easy for me to forget the core of who I am. This guy on the phone wanted to trick me into believing that he was somebody he wasn't. And see, that's a whole nother part of me, probably a whole nother part of you. Sometimes there's something in me that wants to look like more than I am, that wants to show off, that wants to play big guy, big man. God continually points out to me that I am at my core who he says I am, not who I say I am, not who anybody else says I am. You remember back in the book of Exodus when Moses was being told to go to the Pharaoh and to tell him that God has sent me to bring my people out of slavery. God has sent me to lead them out. And God was telling Moses this was his assignment. And Moses said to him in kind of a preemptive strike kind of way, because he knew what the Pharaoh was going to say. Who sent you? Really, who sent you? And so Moses said, God, who do I tell them sent me? You don't have a business card or an email address that I can have them write you a letter and check on this. Who do I say sent me? And God simply told Moses, I am that I am. Tell them that I am sent you. Because you see, that would have been a really hard question for God to answer in any other way. Who is he? I can be described as pastor or husband or brother or father or grandpa, and all of those things are correct. I am, in part, those things. But how does God describe himself? You see, in order to understand what it means to be pastor, you have to have a working knowledge of what a pastor is and what he does. In order to be called husband, you have to have a working knowledge of what that means. You have to be able to relate that title to something. Same with father and grandpa and friend. So what frame of reference did God have when he said, I am that I am? He was saying, among other things, there's no frame of reference for me to give you, Moses, to take back to the Pharaoh and say, this is who I am. I am who I am. I'm God. There's nothing else to compare me with, to relate me to. I am the only God that ever was, ever that is, or ever will be. Just tell him I am has sent you. That's all I've got for him. I am the great I am. I define myself. I'm not defined by titles or by relations or things that are relative to me. I am defined by the fact that I am, just as I am. I don't ever want to forget that about God, because to forget that is a very dangerous thing to do. Because if I teach somebody, well, he's kind of like the president, only bigger, that's a massive understatement. He's kind of like a baker in that he creates things only on a bigger scale. Massively, massively understated, right? There's nothing I can relate him to that's going to compare and give you the understanding of who he is. He said, I am that I am. But who am I? And who are you? Because most of us are different things. We are truck driver, or we are teacher, or we are officer, or airman. All sorts of things can be applied to us, including husband or wife or son or daughter or friend, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew. We can be called a lot of things, and they'll be accurate. But that's not the core of who we are. Where do you go to find out the core? If somebody comes to you and says, Who are you at your core? What would you say to them? Can I give them more than my name and my titles? There's a lot of Rons out there. We have several in our church. So to say that I'm Ron isn't very definitive. No, in order to understand who I am, in order for you to understand who you are, you have to go back to your Creator, to the person who created you. You see, the tennis shoes, Air Jordans, are famous because of Michael Jordan and because of their creator, Nike. Those two teamed up together to create the shoe Air Jordan that is iconic in the shoe world. So what's iconic about you? What is it about you that stands out and is very unique? If you don't know the answer to that, you're missing something huge. Let me tell you what it is. You knew I was going to, right? Book of John, pardon the sunglasses, but they're the only prescription glasses that I've got with me this morning, so they're going to have to do. The book of John, the first chapter, verse 12 says, "But to all who did receive him, who believed his name, Jesus, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of flesh, nor of the will of man, but God." He gave the right to become children of God. At your core, if you have trusted Jesus as your King, and you are a Christ follower, not just one who says, I believe he's God. Anybody can do that. Satan does that. But if you are following him and you are his, you are a child of God. There is no bigger or better or greater definition for you than that. That's who you are. And the wonderful thing is, it's enough. Because tomorrow something horrible could happen and I could stop being husband or dad. I could stop being pastor. Those things could happen. But I will never not be God's child. At my core, at the basic center of who I am, of who you are as a follower of Christ, you are a child of God. And everything else stems from that. I want to be a better husband because I'm a child of God. I want to be a better pastor because I'm a child of God. A better father, a better grandfather, a better friend because of who I am at my core. Do you see that? Do you get that? Do you understand how life-changing that is? That's who you are. So as you approach this day and all of its unique challenges, approach it as a child of God. As you come across information that you find scary or confusing or intimidating, remember who you are, child of God. Remember what he says about you. You have nothing to fear because you're mine. Just lean on me. When you turn on the news and it scares the life out of you, remember who you are. You're his child. He loved you and he purchased you for himself. He adopted you into his family. And you have nothing to fear because you're his. And that's so good. That's so good. That's what enables us to lay down the fear and the frustration. We're his kids. We're his kids. Let's rejoice in that. Father, thank you that we are your kids. The world doesn't know it, doesn't get it, doesn't understand it, but it doesn't make it any less true because you said it is so. But because of Jesus, you gave me the right to become your child, and I am that. Thank you. Thank you. Let me live that way today in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, I love you. It's Friday. I'll see you Sunday, 10:15 in the morning on the Tower View YouTube channel. Tower View, no space between Tower and View, or here in our lot. It's looking good. We'll probably be able to meet outside Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Hope to see you at one of those. God bless. Have a great weekend. See you soon.